Hi teachers, welcome back to my channel where we talk everything special education. If that interests you, make sure you click the subscribe button and hit the little bell to be notified of whenever I make a new video. Also, please make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Today we are going to be talking about how to prepare for the first day of school as a special education teacher. Go ahead and comment below if you are a new special education teacher or how many years you've been teaching now. As you all know, the first day of school can be super nerve-wracking, especially if you are a first-year teacher. But with some preparation, you can make it a super successful day for you and for your students. So let's get started. The first piece of advice that I have for you is to make sure you are familiar with your students' IEPs. Make sure to review the goals and objectives and make a plan to make sure that you are going to meet their needs from the first day. Reviewing IEPs will also help you know what you will be teaching and the levels that your students are at. I have heard some teachers say that they don't like to look at their students' IEPs before they meet their students, and I totally understand that because you don't want to already put your students in this little bubble or maybe imagine who they are based on their IEP. But as a first-year teacher, I totally disagree with this because you need to be as prepared as possible. So maybe a few years down the line, you can wait to look at students' IEPs once you know a little bit more of what you're doing and what exactly your teaching position entails. But for now, I definitely suggest taking a look at your students' IEPs. Number 2, make sure to plan what you're going to teach for the first couple of days. The first few days, I never teach anything academic. I think the most important thing that we can do is build relationships with our students, so I spend those first few days really getting to know my students the best I can. I created a whole YouTube video about 5 back-to-school activities that you can do in the first few days that are specifically for special education, and I'm actually filming these videos on the same days, so that video will be coming soon, but if you're watching this in the future, then that video is probably out, so you can go check that out on my YouTube channel. But I will make sure to link all of my favorite back-to-school activities for special education in the description of this YouTube video. So I have 5 activities that I usually do. I'm just gonna list them off because you can watch that YouTube video. So the first thing I love to do is an around the classroom scavenger hunt. I also love to do an around the school scavenger hunt. I have an all about me iPad apps worksheet, teacher versus students kaboom, and lastly, this or that back to school. So those are just some ideas, and again, they're linked in the description of this YouTube video if you want to look at those. Let's move on to the next thing. Number 3, prepare your classroom. I think that that's pretty self-explanatory, but some things that you should keep in mind. You need to make sure that all the necessary equipment and supplies are in place, like that your smartboard is working, any assistive technology or anything like that that you need to get for your students, make sure you have that ready to go. Try to make your classroom as welcoming as possible, but most importantly, make sure your classroom is functional. I remember my first year of teaching, I was so excited. I was given 3 large tables, which I was actually excited about because I love to do group work. I don't like when students sit individually. So I took the 3 tables and I placed them in a U shape, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I thought it would be perfect for the students. Well, it turns out it was not functional at all. The students were squished and there was no room for paras to work with the students at all. It's pretty funny to think back to how that backfired on me because I did keep it like that for a couple of months because I was like, oh, but this is supposed to be perfect. But then finally I changed it and the classroom ran so much smoother. So make sure your classroom is functional. Number 4, something that I also think is super important is to establish classroom rules and procedures from the very first day. This includes routines for entering and leaving the classroom management strategies, make sure you have that. Definitely from day one, and expectations for behavior. Make sure to clearly let students know about all of these routines and procedures, and then all throughout the year, you need to make sure that you're consistent about it. A couple other ideas for older students. The school that I taught at was one-on-one with computers, so I had very clear expectations for when the computers could be opened and closed. And then also cell phones, of course, is always a big issue, so from day one, I made sure that it was clear that cell phones were not to be used used in my classroom. And then going off of classroom management, my very favorite classroom management strategy is using a classroom store. I have a YouTube video all about that too. Go check that out if you are interested in creating a classroom store. If you are planning on using a classroom store, make sure you implement this from the very first day. The last little tip that I have for you is to make contact with your students' parents, especially if you are an ID teacher, which is intellectual disabilities, which is typically your students with more severe special needs. I actually invited all of my families and the students to come and meet me before the first day of school. The parents really appreciated this, and it really helped me have positive relationships with the parents and the students from the very beginning. When the parents came in, I had a little questionnaire that I went through with them and the students just to get to know their kids better. A lot of parents actually commented to me about how a teacher had never done that for their students before, so they were extra thankful that I was taking the time to get to know the students before they even entered the classroom. All right, that is it for today's video. I hope these tips will help you prepare for your first day of school as a special education teacher. If you follow these tips, I really do think that you will start your year off successful. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Until next time, happy teaching!